Hi guys, welcome to the Last Set podcast today, episode 149, joined by my brother from another mother, Calum. What's good, man? How you been?
Good, bro. Nice to finally get this done. I've been trying to get it done for like 3-4 weeks. Sorry, man.
Yeah, that's all cool. I mean, like, it takes...
After the flu?
Yeah, I'm just glad it finally happened, because when, after all my time doing this, I've always like want to find guests, but nowadays, even though I'm not putting out as many episodes, I just enjoy getting people on more now than ever.
Yeah.
And just the fact that I get to keep doing this as well. But also, one of the big reasons why I want to get you on, because I actually starting to feel like now we've known each other for a little bit of time, how quite like-minded we are in a lot of things.
1000%, man. I think we came across each other on TikTok first.
Yeah.
And you, because you're working at UFC.
Correct.
The UFC gym, yeah. Because I came across your content, and it was very grabby and like obviously funny and quick.
Yeah.
And then I noticed you training at Revo one morning.
Yep.
And then we chatted, because you train at like 4 a.m. You crazy, honestly.
I have to, though.
Just I'd rather get it done before you start your day.
Correct, because with all the other things I'm trying to do, I also do sales at my gym from 2 till 7 every day.
Just like cold calls and stuff.
Yeah, so if I don't get the thing done in the morning, I'm not going to have any time. And it's also my favorite thing to do. And I love Revo Adrenaline so much because... One, it's fucking cold there in the mornings.
It is.
I don't know why.
I don't know why, man, but it's busy. Some people are there at like 4 or 5. It's busy as
I know. And I've actually spoken to a few of those people that are in there first thing in the fucking morning. Some of the guys are like from the army and all that, so they have to do it. Some people just, working corporate jobs.
MMA fighters and stuff.
Correct.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, because it's down the road from Wolves Den and all that, which you used to train at as well.
Literally, man.
Yeah. So some people are obviously scratching their heads right now, but some people got the picture. So, Cal, give them an introduction of what you do, brother.
I'm a personal trainer, man. I've been a personal trainer for, I think, coming up to 7 years now. 7-8 years now. I got qualified when I was about 20, I think. I went the OG route and went to TAFE.
Nice.
Didn't do, your typical like 8-12 week courses like most people are doing now. I actually did my Cert 3 through TAFE, heard about the way PT was structured. I'm not sure, quick tangent, but most people aren't familiar with the way PT is structured in most gyms is you have to pay a rent each week to work for the club, covers all your maintenance fees, whatever, like using the equipment, and then you take home whatever you earn above that. Mm-hmm. So the second I heard how much rent was at most gyms each week, I was kind of deterred from the industry. So I actually took a break after doing my Cert 3. Really? Just worked in like group fitness, and then kind of realized like, nah, like you've got a passion for this stuff. Let's go back and finish your Cert 4, because I was working as a mechanic at the time. Just honestly, head down working on like car parts and stuff most days, and then I'll just be listening to podcasts about like nutrition or training, biomechanics, whatever, even training philosophies, mindset. Mm-hmm. And obviously I realized one day I had a bit of a light bulb moment, like, why am I doing this? I need to be doing this. And then I went back and did my Cert 4, and then kind of started slowly working my way back to getting into the gym environment.
Well, straight off the bat already, I highly respect that, because most, not all, but a lot of my guests have been PTs, and I think you've got to be not the longest time spending, but you're up there already, because the average lifespan of a PT is very short.
Man, it's mad. And like I actually moved out of home at 19. I'm 27 now, so I'm almost 30, but like I moved out of home at 19.
Shut up.
I'm getting old, bro. I saw you're so young, man. You're
24.
You're a little spring chicken, bro.
I'm 24.
Anyway, but
you're
yeah.
27, you're not that far off.
But so I was lived out of home since 19, so obviously like a bit worried about the whole rent-based system, but I was like, nah, like this is what I'm passionate about. I may as well just jump in. Obviously, you're probably familiar with a lot of other people that, I've got heaps of friends that hate their jobs. And I used to be that guy, and I just, of course, like, I think I hate, sorry to go off on a bit of a tangent, but I hate that quote that most people say, like, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
That's bullshit.
It's such bullshit, man. No matter what job you find, you're like, there's always going to be some days where you don't want to do it, or there's going to be some days where you don't feel like getting out of bed, and that resistance is there. And those are usually the days when if you actually, just get shit done, you feel so much better and you realize how passionate you are about what you do. But yeah, I guess the better way go about it is I have more days I enjoy doing PT than I used to enjoy doing anything else, like laboring or anything, and working on cars, just making someone else a bunch of money.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like when I worked when I was an employee, I was working for other people, just making other people money. And it's like, it just leaves you with this almost like lost feeling inside. Like, I know I'm capable of so much more.
Yes.
And then it's like, everyone's like, oh, it's so cool to own your own business, start your own business. But the second you start your own business, it's actually, you shift all the problems that your boss used to take care of onto yourself. But at the same time, man, I wouldn't change it for the world. Like I said, being out of home since 19, like working for myself most of the time.
Yeah.
And it's so fulfilling, man. But like we said, we have those days where it's just gonna be as hard as any other job, but it's harder. It's choose your hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm choosing my hard. I'd rather be focusing on helping clients troubleshoot their problems with their health, lifestyle, mindset, whatever, rather than troubleshooting a car or making someone else a bunch of money, you know?
You chose your suffering. That's important. That's really important.
1000%, man.
Yeah, because going back to what you said about, if you like your job and never work a day in your life, I don't know where that whole quote actually like come from and all that, but there are always going to be, regardless of what you do,
tough days.
Like, even if you're a doctor, you love your job to bits, and especially also, but like starting your own business is always going to be one of the most scariest things. And then it's something that you just have to do along the way. But with everything that goes on, I always respect people who've just there's a time to leave something, but the people who really held on to things the longest usually generally get the most amount of benefit, because there's always a saying like happiness usually comes from growth and sticking to something. And the best way I can compare that to is like, do you ever look at a couple and then they say, oh, we've been together for 30 plus years, 40 plus years, and how much you immediately just go, oh, that is so sweet.
Man, you have immediate respect for them.
Yeah.
Because they've worked through the hard times. You can tell that 100% in that 30 years, there's no chance they've just had a easy, breezy ride. You know, I coach a couple actually that have been married for like 35, 40 years. Probably my most favorite loyal clients, like 3+ years been working together. They've followed me to every gym. I won't mention names, but they know who they are. Like, I love them to bits. Like, they're my gym mum and dad. They've supported my business so much. And they're like, number one, they're literally, that's prime example. Like, they've been married for 30+ years, work through issues, support the shit out of each other. You know what I mean? It's like, same with life. You know what I mean? You've got nothing but respect for that guy that's working the job they might not like, but they're going home and spending, 4 or 5 hours in the afternoon or at night before they go to bed on their little side hustle.
Oh.
Slowly working it up.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, that side hustle can take over.
Are you actually doing something along those lines?
So I think that's the route I actually went through when I started PT. So like what I did, are you familiar with Jordan Syatt? Sorry to mention names, but he's
okay.
Syatt Fitness on Instagram. Like
I think so, yeah.
Real big, like posts a lot of great information, like very generalized topic, just more about like fat loss, building muscle, general health stuff. I came across his stuff online early on as a PT. Like, this is, like I said, when I just finished my Cert 3. And I think every PT on the sun sees like online coaches and they're like, oh my God, I want to be an online coach. Like, this is us going to go off into another tangent now.
That's like the swear words. That's like online coaching's like the M word to me, you know what I mean?
To me, I could see early on that I wasn't ready to be an online coach, but I had to earn my stripes and work my way there.
Oh, you're speaking to the choir right now.
But it's so true. Like, I had to spend years on the gym floor first. Correct. But I thought, this is while I was still working my mechanic job at the time. I knew I wanted to work on the gym floor, but I didn't know how I was going to get there just yet. Basically, like, doubling back on coming full circle onto paying all that rent and stuff like that. Didn't know how I was going to do it. Saw Jordan Syatt stuff and I was like, sweet, I'm going to start posting these little infographics on Facebook, on Instagram, right? Whatever it may be, comparing calories, fasted cardio, whatever, this little infographic, like trying to get people's attention. And before I knew it, like, a lot of my friends were really interested in it. People were engaging with it. And I was like, maybe I've got like a knack for this. Kept posting. And then basically, had an offer from a gym, decided to leave where I was, started working for that gym at the time, actually got a really good offer, didn't have to pay any rent. I was a PT manager, straight into, from like not even working on the gym floor at all to straight into a PT manager role. Wow. Was very fortunate, like learned a lot from that, failed, succeeded, blah, 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 grew from that stronger. And then, just thought, nah, I'm going to start my own business. Let's go.
Okay, so how many gyms did you go? We can say Revo, but how many gyms did you go through before you made it to Revo? You don't have to make names.
No, 3. So actually, the first gym I was a member at, where I reckon I got most of my like experience talking to people on the gym floor, just because I was a member and just seeing gym environments and the way communication styles and the way people communicated. That was Joondalup Arena. And then I left Joondalup Arena. I was employed by RBT, which I don't think...
Results-based training?
Result-based training, yeah. I don't think they're a company anymore. I'm not 100% sure. I think they might have gone into admission. I'm not sure. But I think they've rebranded to something else now. But I was there for a while. Absolutely hated that. But looking back on it, it was one of the best things I did, because I coached like 6-7 classes, group classes a day. So I got like tons of experience.
A day?
Yeah. And like I actually work with a lot of the same people from that gym. Like I said, they've just followed me because we got along so well and built up that relationship. But then, yeah, after RBT was when I got offered that PT manager role at Green Zone, which Green Zone now, I think there's still one in Perth, but there was 2. There was one up north.
Really?
And one in Warwick. But now the one up north, I think, has rebranded to World Gym.
Oh.
Now it's World Gym, and but a lot of people still work there. But
Are we talking north as in Joondalup?
Yeah, near Joondalup.
I know that one. The one that's right near the shopping centre.
Yeah, so that's pretty new, man. That was Green Zone before, so that's where I was PT manager before.
Is that the only Green Zone now in Warwick?
There's one now in Warwick, yeah, but I was at the Joondalup one.
Oh, okay.
And I think Danny, the owner, Danny Green, was obviously trying to sell. Sorry, shock names. Danny Green was trying to sell Green Zone for a while, and then he eventually ended up selling it. The Joondalup one, so I think it still has the Warwick one though.
Yeah, Warwick one's pretty good. One of my friends, shout out to Jamie, he just started working there.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah,
Sweet.
I think it's
man, nothing bad to say at all about Danny Green. Man, looked after us, looked after all his staff, made us all feel really welcome. Even afterwards, like when I decided to resign and move over to Revo, was super nice about it. Said, man, Calum, you got a job whenever you want one. Let me know. You've done really well. Thanks for helping us out. So nothing bad to say about them, but yeah, props to him, man. Jamie, probably going to enjoy it then.
He is already telling me he's actually very much enjoying it. Just because I love those gyms, and I do get it as well. And was asking about that, but the ones that really do have the best culture are the ones that are so fucking hard to leave. Like regardless, because you get people, they will love their gym so much they will drive like an hour just to get there. You know what I mean?
Down, man.
And then that is so important as well, because
true.
Let's say, for example, in the best one I always see is like fight gyms.
Yeah,
have the culture, they have that camaraderie.
I literally thought that as we pulled up, because obviously one of the biggest fight gyms around the corner here.
Yes, Riddlers.
Yeah,
great place. Been in there a couple of times. Great people. Where was I going? So how many? So how many years have you been at the current gym you're at right now, Revo?
Revo, I've only been just over a year. So
really?
That Joondalup one hasn't been open that long.
It hasn't?
Nah, it's only been open, I think, just over a year. Yeah, I've been there for a little while. Oh. It's crazy, man. They just open up gyms left, right, and center.
They do. And I get like really surprised how they do it, because it's such a cheap weekly. I don't know the name. Do you know the name of the guy who invented the Revo company and all that?
I think Andrew Holder's one of the majority stake. Like, he's the one that keeps opening it. Super successful guy. I think he's like same age as you around. Fuck. And he's got like married with kids already. He's got like that many gyms, man.
Jesus Christ, I'm going to have to talk to them. Because
they got a real good business model, man.
They do. And it really like baffles me how well he does it, because there's like so many of them. They're popping around everywhere. Is it true they originally started in Scarborough? Like the first one was
I think one of the first ones was Scarborough. But there's like a very close-knit of boys that started it, and they've slowly just expanded.
Yeah.
But they got a really good model, man. And I think if you look now, a lot of other gyms are following suit in terms of pricing structure and stuff, and like lock contracts and that, because they're realizing like people aren't going to put up with that anymore, man.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
People, it's a market you've got to be adaptable to, because
1000%.
I'll say it this way, because one thing I'll tell you about myself is I used to work in the entertainment industry. I used to be a mouse stripper for 4 years.
Awesome, bro.
Thank you. And one of the things that we always did...
getting the rig out.
One of the things we always used to be heavily critical of was that the pricing was always had to be the same across the board.
Across different guys?
Yeah. So there was... I remember I had a conversation with one of the guys who was like high up there in the industry. He was telling me like the problems with all these like different websites right, is that they all have the same guys on it, like all these different freelancers. So if a girl just wants that one guy, she's going to call up every business until she finds the cheapest one.
Yeah.
And it's like that with gyms as well. Like, if they got all the equipment that most gyms generally do have the same equipment. Like every gym's got squat racks, every gym's got benches, every gym's got dumbbells, every gym's got cardio equipment.
But like you said, it's that culture usually.
The most basic things, they're always going to go for one's the cheapest option if they're going to get the same. Unless they're looking for something very, very specific, they're willing to pay that extra money for.
Yeah.
But that is such a small that is a smaller population.
Yeah.
Generally. Yeah.
Most people aren't willing to pay like super high up now. And I think coming full circle, what you and me were saying before, even about online coaches and stuff now, is you probably noticed, like, I've had to shift things as a personal trainer. You know, you have to make sure that your prices are up there. Like even what's called face-to-face now, I don't know if you've noticed that, like a lot of people are less likely now to pay that premium price for face-to-face because of the abundance of information out there in terms of like programs and online coaches or whatever. But
so let's take this one step further then. How do you justify it then if like pretty much how do you justify your price then?
So for me, it depends on the individual. Okay. Like when I'm like doing the initial consult, I will very quickly decide if the person is someone who is willing to invest in themselves, that premium price, and they're going to put the work in.
Okay.
Because I'm very different. Like I use the example when I'm selling PT as like, I like to describe myself as like a driving instructor.
Okay.
If you think of a driving instructor when you need to get your driver's license, you pay a driving instructor a pretty premium price. You know, they teach you that little stop for shop or whatever, all the stuff, the logistics that you're going to have to go through in the test. They empower you with that confidence to pass the test. And then chances are you never hire a driving instructor after you pass that test. You know, you got your license, you're sweet. I like to use that very similar analogy with my clients, or even in that initial consultation where, look, I'm almost like your driving instructor here to help guide you in the gym and like be like almost like a glorified babysitter, and then help you feel confident and empower you to manage your training volume, manage your nutrition, manage your lifestyle and your ever-changing goals based on, you know, what works best for you. You know, with my clients, one of the first things I'll always say in that initial consult as well is there's many roads that lead to Rome. You know, because there's something that works for you, Joseph, you know, might not work for myself based on our lifestyle, but it doesn't mean that we can't, you know, still get that end result, even though we're both taking different routes. So like, it's really important to always remember that there's many roads that lead to Rome. And then that's where that self-awareness comes in to know what's going to work best for you. And then I think that's our job as the PT, as the coach, to guide our client in that right way. So coming back to what you said in that initial consult is, straight away, you know, whether it's a student, someone who's full-time, someone who's like super well off and wants to invest as much as they can in themselves, I'll usually pick up straight away. Like if it's a student, I'm not going to try and sell them into like full price, like PT every single week, because what's going to happen there is they might just do a few weeks of that and realize, oh, this is like a bit too expensive, and then they'll drop down. I'd rather set something up in between that might be a little bit more affordable for them, maybe like an online service or something like that they can adhere to a bit better, and they're going to stick to it for longer and get better results. You know what I mean? But then, for example, like I signed up a guy last week, super keen to get into the gym, never really got into it, but his friends have always been into it. And he basically said to me, look, I want to put my head down for 6-12 months, put on as much muscle as I can.
Those are my favorites.
1000% same. So I knew, sweet man, like budget wise, can you afford this? Let's do this. Let's set things up this way. And he's been smashing it, man. Whereas someone who might be at university working like 2-3 days a week, the last things I'm going to do is try and offer him, you know, full price PT.
Counting pennies.
But they might need it, man. So like in saying that, I might offer them one session a month, because I might think, look, we need to look at their breathing mechanics or their movement or something, because they're not quite comfortable to train on their own just yet. But then doubling back to what we just said before, it's like almost that driving instructor analogy, trying to make sure you figure out what's best for them and you're empowering them within that situation. And then you know when to step back. Because I'm sure, man, I'm sure you know those PTs on the gym floor. It's like, oh man, you're signing up for another session, like lifetime client.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to a nightclub, it's single, girls can smell if you're like just there to pull girls. You know, if you're on the gym floor just trying to find lifetime clients, people can smell that you're just like looking for money. You know, you're not actually there trying to do your job and actually help people bridge the gap, because that's what our job is. Let's be honest.
I like that analogy. The girls are good at picking that up as well.
They're so good at picking that up, and vice versa. Guys are the same at picking that up. A girl's a little bit overly keen, it's usually kind of off-putting. You know what I mean? Same with PT. It's like if you're straight away throwing prices down their throat, that first conversation, and you don't even know anything about them, you don't even know their budget, you don't even know who they are, like what they do for work. Like, how can you just start throwing prices at them when you don't even know what's going to work best for them?
Okay. So I wanted to ask, now that we've talked about, you know, that PT, because I've been there. We've all been there, because when you start your PT business for the first time, there's going to be that scarcity. You're trying to get what the fuck you can in.
100%.
And then there's all these PTs as well that have to work that other part-time job to subsidize it, what they're doing. So how would you give advice to those people starting out who are trying to not be like, you know, that creepy dude in the club?
Starting out as a PT?
Yeah.
Man, I wish I could go back and do things all over again. Biggest thing I reckon I would do is I would just spend as much time on the gym floor as I could when I started, which is exactly what I did when I was a PT manager at Green Zone. When I started, obviously I was very fortunate I wasn't paying rent because of the position I was in, managing the other PTs, but I still was in the gym morning, night, hanging around, sitting behind the reception desk on my laptop, just there, you know? And then what I'll say is the same in the online presence is posting stories, just posting what you're doing, even in your training, even if you're coaching your aunties, like even if you're coaching your cousin for free because it's the only person who wants to work with you because you just started, post their journey, you know, document that rather than trying to create stuff. Because what you're going to do is then in the online space, whenever anyone's interested in PT, say, for example, we're talking about you, Joseph's always going to be there. You know, you're going to be the first person they see. So when they think of PT, when someone mentions PT, they're going to think, oh, Joseph, because you're always in the forefront of their mind. Vice versa on the gym floor. If that member is coming into the gym every different times every day, but you're still there, they're going to start connecting the dots and go, oh, like maybe he's going to be able to help me if they need a hand, you know? I can't stand those PTs that just like, they'll jump straight online and they're like we were saying before, you know, they're like, oh, I want to be an online PT, and it's like, I want freedom, you know? Yeah, sorry.
I'll do you one better, man. People who jump online who don't even have any certifications to start. Oh. I've met those.
Man, the meal plan ones.
Oh,
bro, they're writing
that's
meal
illegal.
Plans. It's so illegal. They're writing meal plans and they don't even have a qualification.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, it's because what they don't realize is they think that they're helping the individual. But what I see as an experienced coach is you could be actually harming the individual because you could be creating deficiencies. You could be creating poor relationships with food. You could be creating like reliances. Man, the list goes on. You know what I mean? And it makes me sick, man. Because we should just refer out. Yeah. What's wrong with referring out to a nutritionist or someone you respect in your circle?
Yeah, I'll give you a confession then. So I dabbled into online last year, at this time last year, when I've officially been, because I've been PTing for just over, I think it was just before the 2-year mark. And I said to myself, oh, I just left industry and I wanted to invest in myself. So
hired a business coach.
No, they came to me.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know.
Bro,
I know.
They're the worst.
Yeah, they're the
oh my
worst.
God, life coach here earns 6 figures now by the end of this week.
It was exactly like that. And it was like, it was
makes
cool.
me
I can't even
sick.
say the name. I will say it off the screen.
Yeah,
and if
yeah,
I
yeah.
say the name of the place,
Yeah.
you'll throw that fucking water bottle at me. Anyway, being myself, I had the money. And I thought it was a good investment because I thought, I mean, this is my life, this is my career. If I may as well make a mess of it and clean it up. So that was the attitude I had. So I dabbled into it, and then I got to the 4-month mark, and I thought to myself, Joe, what the fuck have you done? And I hated it, and I was paying them money every month.
It's a lot, eh?
And it's a lot of. I can't even say how much it is, but it was. By the time I actually put the fucking figure on it, I went to my accountant. My accountant looked at how much money I spent to them, and he's like, are you fucking serious? And my accountant goes, yeah, that's how much. And he's like, do you know how much money? He's like, mate, you spent more money on that than your fucking car. And it's like, is it tax deductible? and goes, I'll see what I can do.
But man, you know the funny thing is most of these business coaches had never even been like in the fitness industry or never even actually had a successful business.
No.
They just might know how to use like, I guess, Facebook or Instagram marketing or whatever a little bit better than yourself. Or they might have done some course.
I know, and I find it so fake.
Oh man.
Like I'll tell you a scenario I had. Where you and me get relatable is I love the funny shit you post, by the way.
Same as you, man.
And I was all about that. I was like the kind of, I love, because for me, I always believed you should, when you put your content out on Instagram, you don't have to do what everyone's doing. You just have to do something you fucking enjoy.
Man, you have to be yourself.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing. Everyone's trying to be like someone else.
Yeah. So I got to a point where I was like, I thought I was struggling because I was putting out all this like funny content a day, but I was still enjoying it, but it wasn't getting me anything in return. And I went to them for help, and I was like, hey, what do I do? I'm doing this and I'm doing this and doing this. And then their answer was just post more. You got to be more sentimental. And that's what they said. You got to be more sentimental.
Just got to post 7 times a day, bro. Don't worry. Like that, your audience is going to love that. You know, they're not going to think like it's too much.
Yeah. And then they said something along the lines of,
stupid.
You've got to write emotional posts about the darkest times of your life. And I'm like, why?
What?
I'm like, for example, I'll tell you this. I'm deaf. I lost my hearing when I was 3, but I don't go around telling, like, sprouting out of every conversation I have.
That's the first thing we've spoken about. The first time we've spoken about it.
Yeah,
you know?
and I don't need to fucking tell everybody on social media. And yeah, going through that, I would say was a hard time for my family, but I don't need to fucking like put it on a pedestal. You know what I mean? So that's when I realized I fucked up. So I'm out of it now. So many
people seek that like. What's the word for it? They seek that like
validation.
Yeah, validation, or like they, you know, that attention.
Yeah.
For having something wrong, and it's like what?
And they make it sound like they're so brave. Like whenever I see like one of those Instagram posts, we're not shit. Look, if it works for you guys, it works for you guys. But every time I see an Instagram post like that starts with, "I probably shouldn't post this, but I'm going to," I'm just like scroll past it. Literally,
or when they like announce that they're taking a break or they've been away from social media. I'm like, bro, your life isn't that important. People don't realize that you've gone away or come back. Like, I'm similar to you, man. Sometimes, like, I'll just have weeks where I don't want to post, or have weeks where I'm not switched on. And, man, those weeks I won't post. You know, I'm not going to force myself because I don't want to create this bad relationship with it and actually not enjoy it. Yeah. Like what you said before. Like, you want to post stuff that you enjoy.
Exactly.
But coming back to what I was saying before, even about starting to post on Insta, like, yeah, most online coaches are just like most people get in the industry and they're like, I want to be an online coach. It's like, I always say to people, like, wait until someone asks you, like, oh, can I rather just do like online coaching? Like, do you have like a cheaper option? Yeah. You know what I mean? And set something up. Like, I don't know about you, but I started on like spreadsheets, just coaching like my mates and like my brother's friends and stuff like that, because like, I just wanted the experience and I wanted to help them out because I was seeing that they were doing the wrong thing. And then it wasn't until I actually got enough interest where I was like, oh, maybe I'll use a platform. I'll start downloading stuff, whatever. But coming back to the social media thing, man, so many people are doing like social media. Like, I feel like they're doing it wrong, trying to be like someone else. You know, they're trying to, I don't know, they're trying to almost one up their audience and trying to show people that they're like so much smarter or they know certain things, where it's like you said before, it's like, you have to just be yourself. It's like, I reckon the most important thing is having that self-awareness of what you're going to post. If you find something funny and if you can make it well and if you can portray a message well, if you find that funny, post it, bro. Yeah. You know, if you want to share your physique or whatever and you feel like you're doing well and you're confident, post it. You never know, you might inspire someone else.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's like, no matter what you post, there's always going to be someone out there that's like, oh, what an idiot. What a fucking idiot. That's so gay, bro. But it's like, if you find it funny and if your close circle and your friends and stuff support you and stuff like that, who gives a fuck what anyone else thinks, man.
I'm always the best thing a positive I will say, because we bagged a lot on online coaches, is I respect is when you talk about being yourself, as well as just wanting the skills of being able to create content and reach out to people, not because you want to make the money. The money is the number one, is the thing these businesses, they rope you on, and it roped me on, because that's always one thing I was chasing a bit at the time. And that's where you make all the wrong decisions, and that's when you're not in it for the right reasons. If I met this, I know this a couple of PTs in the online world who I follow just because of their content and how
Yeah.
much they're devoted to just actually doing the good shit.
Man, they're doing their reps.
Like a good one is Richard Collins. We know him
Yeah.
from Perth. He's always just putting up very basic things.
It's basic, but it's simple is significant.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
And he's not trying to sound like he's a genius.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not at all. And even though he probably could, you know, he could flex on a lot of us. But for example, like someone like Richard, like versus someone like myself, like you have that self-awareness. Like I know I'm not the most, you know, intellectual guy. I can't talk, you know, to cellular level about gut health, whatever. But I can make people laugh. I've always been a class clown at school.
There you go.
I've always made people laugh. I was expelled from school in year 10. Like I was in it.
Really?
Yeah, man. Like
What did you
I
do?
honestly just stupid stuff, man. Like I was never that school intellectual, like book smart guy, but I was always, you know, looking around. I was always the sporty kid. I was always interested in stuff. But like we were saying, sorry about before, about even just the content in general, like, yeah, you have to respect the grind. So many online PTs are super consistent, posting every day, posting that. But it's the ones that have spent years on the gym floor. They've learnt volume, tonnage, reps, sets, rest periods. They've learnt how to communicate. They've learnt like how to troubleshoot people's problems. And then they take that experience of years on the floor and transfer that online, where it's like, I've even been able to have the self-awareness to go, all right, maybe I'll do another, you know, 12, 24 months at Revo. And then I feel like that's a solid chunk of like years on the floor, multiple gyms. That's when I can transition things online.
Correct.
You know, and that's when I feel like it's going to be better online anyway. Like I was looking forward to coming and having this conversation with you today. You know what I mean? I never want to set my life up where I have to feel like I'm forced to do things. So I feel like the second PT starts feeling forced or I start not enjoying it, then for me, that's when I'll probably start to step back and see how I can do things different. Now, I've always had the self-awareness in the sense of PT is one of my revenue streams. I've got multiple revenue streams for that very reason. I never wanted to become solely invested in one of those.
Okay.
So like I'll do multiple other things. Like I do like a lot of care work and support work.
Really?
Because that keeps me away from PT. That keeps me grounded, patient as a person. But then it also helps me financially, you know, where I don't need to look at PT as just an income.
Really? How long? What else? What else do you do then?
So I was fortunate enough when I was a mechanic, tied up around the same time, one of my best friends started working in the disability industry, and he started doing like support work, care work. So obviously, basically when young individuals with disabilities finish school, turn about 18, 19, obviously their parents and things like that are out working. They're not just going to leave their child at home. There's the government's got, you know, NDIS put in place, your National Disability Insurance Scheme, basically to help these individuals still achieve their goals, go out, you know, train. They might work on skills they need to develop to progress and move out of home, or cooking, lifestyle changes, things like that. So basically I was lucky enough, one of my best friends started working in the disability industry. And this was the time when I was really starting to hate PT. But I was starting to post those little infographics on Instagram, starting to kind of get my foot back into the fitness industry and away from the mechanics. And he was fortunate enough to give me a position there. And that's where it really started for me, man, because I was lucky enough to have this care job where I started working about 9 in the morning and finished at 2:30. So going from a mechanic shift like 6 a.m. till 2 p.m. to going to 9:30 a.m. starts to 2 p.m. is like the dream. You know, I could wake up in the morning, train, make content, post it, and then go do my job and then come back and then repeat. You know, I had so much time to do that stuff, and I wasn't exhausted from just like, you know, working on cars or whatever all day, you know?
Wow. And do you still do the whole caring?
Yeah,
Wow.
so I still do support work 3 days a week.
Wow.
Very fortunate. Like I said, it's just during that day. So it even ties in really well with my PT now. I do I coach my clients in the morning, and then I'll go pick up, I will mention Nick, because Nick's the only guy I support. He's one of my best friends. Like, love him to bits. I've been with him, me and him have been hanging out for like 3 years. And I hate even saying that I'm like looking after him or something like that, the term, because I feel like we've just developed a friendship. He's super high functioning. Like, me and him get along so well. Me and his family are really close. So I used to do a lot of support work, but now I just look after Nick.
Wow. Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't know that, man.
Most people don't know, man. Like, they'll see me bring, because Nick's like been hanging around gyms with me for years, because obviously I work in the gym, so I'll pick him up and we'll hang out and he trains.
You see the...
You've probably seen him, yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to put... Is he the blind chap?
No.
No.
No, he's not.
No,
He might have.
I think there's someone who
has the guide dog.
Yeah.
That comes in, yeah, you might have seen. No, that's one of my other, one of the other PT's clients.
shout out to that guy. Fucking,
Working hard,
it takes balls. It takes guts to want to help those people and all that because it's extra work you have to take care of for them. And
1000%, man. But obviously, like I said, fortunate enough for me, like that was something that took me away from, you know, the automotive industry, which, man, I couldn't give a rat's ass about cars. Like some people, some people like love that shit.
Yeah.
But like, I scratch my brain, those guys that have a massive beer gut and they care more about their, you know, Holden commie than they do about their health. And it's like, bro, fix your meat vessel and then invest in your little fun toys. I don't understand, man. You know what I mean? But each to their own. Like that's been themselves. So yeah, but coming back to that, like, yeah, people have always thought that Nick's like my little brother or something like that because we've always just hung out in gyms.
Wow.
But yeah, I've been fortunate enough, man. That's also like kept me super grounded and patient as a person because I could be having the worst day in the world and I could pick him up and I could be like, it's all perspective.
It is.
Like, you know, it's all perspective. Like I can shift it straight away because I see in his eyes, he's just so grateful to go to the gym, so grateful to go out for lunch or to do something fun. You know what I mean? Get some sun. And I'm like, it's the small things. It literally is.
It is because how I can relate to you on that one was the last guest I had, one of the last guests I had on my podcast. His name was Connor Johnson. He's a BJJ. He does BJJ and he has cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
So and it's down the left side of his body.
Yeah.
You know, he has very limited function on the left side of his body.
Yeah.
He does just not let him hold him back at all. And he's a blue belt in BJJ. He's getting ready for PAMS. Shout out to that guy.
Beast.
He's a beast. And I just looked, when I was sitting there listening to him, I remember there was something going through my head at the time that I was really pissed off about. I can't remember actually what it was. But when I was listening to him, I was like, what the fuck am I complaining about?
1000%.
And I had
brings you straight back down.
It does.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody like can benefit from that. If you look, just go to, I mean, it's not we're trying to pity them or anything like that, but they've been dealt a certain hand of cards and they're not letting that stuff like holding them back.
1000%.
And the other thing I can do relate to is I took a trip to Bali with my girlfriend. I think it was last month, yes. And I'd never been to Bali before.
Oh, really?
Never been. I've been to Thailand a couple of times.
See, what you're about to say is probably very similar to how I had my first Bali experience, I reckon. But yeah, what were you going to say?
You go to this country.
I think it's going to be amazing.
They got fuck all. These people have got literally fuck all. And they're so, well, not, I don't want to say fuck all, but they have limited things.
So great.
They don't give a shit about social media. They don't give a shit about what the fucking Kim Kardashian's doing. They don't give a shit.
What designer brands they're wearing. They couldn't give a shit, yeah.
They're just happy to be out there on the street, seeing people. You go into their store, even though some of them are a bit stingy and try and cut you up, but you give them, like, and they give everything 100%. Like, you go, and I just remember in Bali, I was saying to my girlfriend, holy shit, everything tastes better here. Like, even the coffee tastes better there. And I knew very lack about the currency when I was going there. I didn't realize that I think it's $1 equals to like 10,000. Is it rupee?
Yeah.
Rupee or something like that.
Yeah.
So when you get the red, the highest note that we have in Australia is the $100 note. The highest note that they have in their country is equivalent to $10. So you give them a $10 tip, which I thought was like, oh, I got to do this. I love good service.
Yeah.
They'll break down and start crying in front of you and all that.
Yeah, that's like their food for the month.
Yeah.
You know, to support their family for the month.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. It's like, coming back to what you said even about the last guest you had on. It's like he doesn't let those things, like even people in Bali, they don't let their situation hold them back. Yeah. They don't create these limiting beliefs. Versus, I'm sure you've been the same as me, completely fine. Like we go to post something, we're like, oh, you know, someone might laugh at us or, oh, fuck, I'm not smart enough to post this or, oh, should I say this? And it's like, what? You're just creating these like limiting beliefs in your head. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's like so many people are so worse off. And it's like, it's important to have that self-awareness and know the situation you're in and just try and step back and be grateful for it, man. I always have the ability to do that. I feel like just because I was born in Botswana, in Gaborone.
Botswana?
So
I have no knowledge of where that is.
It's in Southern Africa. So it's like,
really?
Yeah. So it's like, I moved here, I think in 2006 or something like that. Yeah. So I grew up mostly in Botswana. So I only moved here in like year 6 or 7.
Okay.
So I've always had the ability to, I grew up with my houses surrounded with electric fences. We'd wake up in the morning and there'd be blankets and things over the electric fence, people trying to break in the night before.
Holy shit.
Like my mum tells me stories all the time of like us getting broken into when I was younger.
Oh, fuck.
But so it's like when you move to Australia and you see like, this, you just knock on someone's front door, there's no electric fences, no gates, no security cameras. Yeah. It's like, it's such a different environment. It allows you to step back and have that completely different perspective and be so grateful for it, because you're so much better off. But then even saying that is, as I've got older, it's funny. I remember when I was younger, I used to think of the people that used to break into our house and stuff and like evil and criminals and oh my God. But then as I've got older, it's like, I've realized that a lot of the people that used to break into our house were like just fleeing from other countries in horrible situations, just trying to feed their family. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's outlying cases of horrible people doing horrible things. But a lot of the time, like I think these people that were doing bad things, especially when I was younger, is like they're trying to, just feed their families. Once again, it's all perspective. It's like that's the situation, that's the cards that they've been dealt with. Wow. You know what I mean? But it's like, and that's why I struggle sometimes, man. I'm not going to lie. Like I'll struggle sometimes to come to hear of like certain people like complaining about their current situations and things. God. Like my circle is like pretty small, man. Like
Me too.
I can't take on like too many like new friends or anything. I can't surround myself with too many negative people because I'll just get sucked into that before I realize like you're the sum of those 5 people you surround yourself with. Like I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast has heard that, but it's so true, man. If you're investing yourself and spending so much time with someone who's negative and draining your energy, you're going to struggle to see a positive outlook on anything. We've all had that person in our life that's having a bad day or client. For you and me, man, sometimes like I'll just feel like a therapist at work. Yeah. I have like 6-7 therapy sessions where I'm just letting people are unloading their divorces, breakups, like shit sex life. And I'm just like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like you don't need to go into that much detail, but at the same time, it's like, I struggle to step back and go like, you have to step back and go like, that's their issues. You know what I mean? That's their problems, their perspective, their life. You can't rattle someone. Like I've dated girls in the past and really struggled with it in a way. Like I've heard them being negative or whatever. And I've said like, like just try and see things this way. And it's hard because like I'll see things a certain way and they're like, they're like, oh my God, Calum, like shut up. I can't see things like that. And it's like, it's like so frustrating.
Yeah, you can't force them either. That's the problem.
You can't force someone to think.
I will relate to that because a lot of the issues that the way I'm hearing it from you is if you've come up into a life where you've kind of been brought up in a life where you met the idea of suffering in its purest form from a very, very early age.
Very early.
Like I don't even know. I'll get my phone now. I have to look after this. But tell me more about the country where you were born in and all that, because I've never heard of Botswana.
I was born in Botswana, a small town called Gaborone.
Okay.
So it's what's it called? They speak Setswana, completely different language. They don't speak Afrikaans. It's it's weird. I get lumped in, like when people hear I'm from Botswana, they're, you're South African. You know what I mean? Okay. But it's like Afrikaans, South African, and it's like
Dutch.
African is very different.
Yeah.
Nothing against super like strong Afrikaners.
Okay.
But they're just, it's very, like it's a different almost culture to, I feel like there's parts of Africa where like things are very different. Like I personally have never gone back to Botswana.
Okay.
Gaborone, I've never had any desire to. I've still got extended family there. Mm-hmm. Love them to bits, but I just, like I said, man, no desire to go back there at all. Yeah. Have, however, gone back to Cape Town and what's it called, South Africa, because my gran lives there and it's so beautiful with the mountains and stuff. And man, we could talk honestly for hours. Like my mum and dad got divorced when I was 3 and I stayed in Botswana with my mum and she remarried. My dad moved to the States.
Wow.
So my dad's been living in the States most of my life. So every year, obviously minus all this COVID crap that happened, but before that, like every single year I was flying to see my dad in the States. So mum and dad still never spoke for years.
Really?
Mum would put me on one end in Botswana on the plane, and dad, an unaccompanied minor, would look after me, and then dad would get me off the other side. So fun, bro. I'd get like treated like royalty, because obviously you're traveling by yourself, unaccompanied minor, you get rose to yourself, or the air stewardesses coming and looking after you and stuff like that. Wow. But yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to experience a lot of the world growing up. Yeah. And my dad's obviously, because I'll see my dad a week or two in the year, like it's kind of like that week or two will be like the coolest week or two that we can possibly make it.
Nice.
And my dad's pretty well off, so he's like always set things up so we've had the most fun we could possibly have, going to see Grand Prix, skiing. I had lunch with Lewis Hamilton once with my dad. Like,
holy
crazy
shit.
stories, man. Like,
Wow.
honestly, stuff that people wouldn't even believe. Only my close friends know about it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But yeah, my dad's basically always given me the best life he possibly could
Okay.
in that short period of time.
Okay.
But then mum's treated me super well. But yeah, dad's a ski instructor in America, man.
Wow.
My dad was in the Olympics in 1992 for slalom skiing.
Shit.
It's either 1992 or 1991.
Holy crap.
He'll kill me for getting that wrong.
That's fucking awesome. Well, the way I'm seeing this, I just wanted to circle back to my point. You've experienced a certain level of a certain kind of stress from a very young age, living in Botswana, obviously having your parents divorced at a very young age. You talk about people trying to break into your house, electric fences. That's what you're accustomed to.
100%.
So everything else below that is just, it's nothing. So when you talk about, the girls, this is bothering them, it's because it's nothing compared to that level of what you are.
It's nothing, man.
And I feel like that's what's important about people. Like, if someone's coming to me and it's like, I'm not saying, I don't want to be an ass if it's like, I don't want to be an ass like if it's something really destructive, like a death of a loved one.
Yeah.
Or something or horrible like that.
Man, you got to read the room.
Yeah. But if it's like someone came to me with a flat tire, I'm just like,
oh, yeah.
yeah. Mate,
Did you get it sorted? Do you need a hand?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, it's not a massive thing.
Exactly.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It's not like people trying to break into your fucking house.
Literally, man, I've got a great example. I dated this girl when I was 19. I won't mention names, for probably 4 or 5 years. We went to Bali a few times on holiday together. I remember once she got her nails.
Where?
Bali.
Oh, sorry.
I remember once she got her nails done right before we went to Bali. We were like play fighting when we landed in Bali and she broke a nail.
Yeah.
I think it was about a 24, 48 hour turnaround where I didn't stop hearing about that nail being broken, bro. I swear down. Whereas we both know other girls that something like that would happen and they go, oh, it's all right, I'll just get it fixed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's all perspective. So yeah, like I said, for me, it's, I had trauma when I was growing up. You know, I saw bad things. And the hardest thing was, I think, is I was young and impressionable and my subconscious mind was still being improvised by all that stuff, you know, like I didn't realize it at the time, but it's like, it formed who I was as a person and it formed my thought patterns and like almost that perspective, like that level, you know?
Yeah.
But I think as I'm getting older, like I can, relate to people a bit more on like even smaller situations. Like I'll try and see things from their point of view and try and not say, because I'm guilty of it, man. We all want someone sometimes, like, especially if it's a partner or something, like, oh, why can you just like see things how I see them? You know what I mean? And it's like, you're never going to change someone, how they see things, how they act. And I think that's the important thing, even in relationships, is making sure that we're not having these expectations of our partner or how a certain person should act, and rather step back and try and see them for who they are and maybe why they see things like that as well, because they don't have that past trauma, they don't have that past experience, or like you said, they don't have people like fucking trying to break into their house growing up. Like to me, that's the last thing I even think about when I was younger, you know? Like I said, I have the ability now to see those guys breaking in and go, they were just trying to feed their family. Is what it is, you know?
Yeah. How did you, what age did you like sort of come to that understanding? Like, where they're like, oh, they're just trying to feed their family. Like, was it something that happened just during your time? Or?
I think it was like, at the time I didn't realize it. Obviously I was scared as a young kid, like, what's it called? But we used to have, we'd have an alarm code we'd have to put in every night. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, the alarm code we used is my passcode on my phone now.
Oh, wow.
So I always think about it because we always used to put it in. And I guess it just makes me think sometimes. It's like, it's that perspective growing up, even seeing, like, talking to my mum now about the stories in a bit more detail and what happened and things, and hearing a bit more about what actually happened. You know, a lot of people fled from Nigeria into Botswana.
Why?
And there was no work, there was no jobs, a lot of the stuff happening. Even if I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of the bad stuff that happened in Zimbabwe with like inflation and
I'm not actually.
Mugabe and stuff. Man, we could go on for hours, you know what I mean? But it's a lot of corruption, basically, you know, high up in government, people printing money, things like that. And obviously it's going to take its toll on an economy, you know? And you look at the state of Zimbabwe now, it's a direct representation of like what Robert Mugabe did in his previous power. Like there's still suffering from it. You know what I mean? But anyway, basically just using that as an example, like from a lot of other countries, people are fleeing, like a lot of people would flee from Nigeria to Botswana to try and, you know, get jobs or feed their families or whatever. And it's like, I'm not justifying saying, yeah, breaking new house is good, but they almost had nothing else to do. You know, they couldn't feed their families. And I'm sorry, if you're surrounded by these like massive houses and shit, like you're eventually going to be like, man, let's take a bit of this. Like, who cares? You know, I guess it's the world we live in now. There's not these systems in place to help people like that. You know what I mean? And it's sad because we all have the capability of doing it. But I think as a society and like, we're just not there yet. Hopefully one day, I think things are slowly getting better. Yeah.
Well, how I hear it is people who come from those cultures, it's what they value. It's just that how they get by, and it's what they value. And
it's
all that.
100%, man. It just comes down to your value systems and like what makes you feel, you know, supported and well off. And like, I was very fortunate. Like my mum remarried, a few years after my parents got divorced. My mum remarried.
Just checking. Do you have any siblings or anything like that?
And I'm one of 6.
You're one of 6.
So I'm.
Oh my god.
So I'm my only. What's it called? I'm the only product of that marriage with my mum.
Oh, so you've got half siblings.
Yeah, so I've got half and step. So my mum's remarried and had 3 kids to my stepdad. My stepdad already had 2 kids from a previous marriage. Okay. So we basically all came together in one huge family now.
And where do you sit in the 6? Are you the oldest?
Pretty bang in the middle, man. I think there was like a 40-something-year-old.
Oh, geez.
Like dentist.
Wow.
There's like a
respect
20-something-year-old doctor or 30-something-year-old doctor now. She is. And then my brother's like 21, sister's about to turn 20, my little brother's 11. So I'm 27, boom, kind of bang in the middle.
Okay.
All my all my siblings have gone to university except for me. Except for obviously the 11-year-old yet, but he's looking like he's gonna go.
Well, if he does, it's like I don't want to go to uni. So he'll be like, welcome to club.
That's what I mean. It's like this running joke, you know, like nothing against people that go to uni. I just never had that. I think looking back now, if I realized what I was going to do today, I would have gone and done like, you know, a psychology or an exercise phys or something like that, or exercise science. But at the time I just physically couldn't see, and I did not want to get into that debt. You know, what everyone does, like everyone's buying houses, getting into what's called jump financing, like way too expensive cars because they want to look a certain way, or jumping into these degrees that they don't even half know if they want to do.
Yeah,
they're just balls deep in debt.
Everyone doing shit to pass time.
It's embarrassing, man.
Look, if there's one thing people take away from me, and I say it all the time, it's no one knows what the fuck they're doing in life. They're just going off your best guess. So sometimes when I meet people, they have all this absolute over-vilification of confidence, and they are so certain. I tell them, the more certain you are about something, the more anxiety it's going to induce.
Oh man, I'm sure, bro, you'd be able to. What's it called? It's the Dunn-Kruger effect. When you get into something, is it called the Dunn-Kruger effect? When you get into something and you think you know so much more than you actually do, and then the more you learn about that topic, the more you realize how much you don't know. And that's me right now, man. Yeah. Like I'm learning. The more I've learned about like nutrition or biomechanics or stress and recovery, like the more I've learned about that, the more I realize I don't know.
Correct.
And the more mentors I've hired, the more courses I've done. So it's like, whereas you come into the industry, don't you reckon? Yeah. Whereas you might have like a very small, narrow, like as a PT, like whether it's bodybuilding or powerlifting, and you can't help but you're biasing all your clients to that. Yeah. And it's like you step back and you go, oh no. Yeah. It's like an ego thing as well.
I had that. I literally had that because my story was I went to uni and I got lucky because I had early acceptance. Yeah. So I figured I had I didn't actually want to go. Ever since I was 16, I said, you know, I'm going to be a PT. I want to do this.
Parents wanted you to go?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mum.
bro. Mum, honestly.
But look,
she had the best intentions.
She did. Yeah. And in looking back at it, in hindsight, she was right. She really did, because she fought so hard, and my parents, God bless them, they fought so hard to get me through school, and they got me into a good school. I don't want to say the name, but if I told you what school I went to after the pod, you'd be like, okay. But
Private school?
Private school.
Yeah, same, man.
Okay, all boys private school.
Oh no.
Yeah, you get the picture.
Yeah.
And they did, and they fought hard, and I did. I was a pretty decent student, decent enough to get into the course I wanted early acceptance. So argued with my mum, loving mum, all that. I said to myself, I'll go and I'll see the first week. And if I don't like it in the first week, I'll drop out and I won't tell her. I went there and I was just so challenged to stay. Not because I did actually like it, but at the same time I say, look, this is a challenge and I know it's going to make me look better if I just stay here.
Yeah.
Now that's something it's so petty to say, but that was the main reason that kept me going. And then straight off the bat, because I was lucky to go to a pretty good university, UWA, do sports science, exercise and health, went straight into PT. I thought because I had done a double degree at a decent university that I thought I was better than everyone. Yeah. I knew fuck all when I got into it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Man, the fact you can say that though shows how much better off, like how much self-awareness you have. Mm-hmm. Because how many people come out of uni straight onto the PT floor and they like think they know so much more than you, but they have zero like actual face-to-face hands-on experience, maybe a few prac hours, whatever.
Yeah, a few prac hours.
And like in an environment that's staged, you know, to suit a test or whatever, not an actual full-on day, 7-8 clients back-to-back, not eating, 3 coffees down, slept 3 hours the night before, you were up at 4 a.m. You know, that's real-life experience. So I've had, like, that's sick that you've had the ability to say, like, looking back after you, because I'm sure at that time you were probably a dick to hang around with, like thinking you knew way better than everyone else.
It was straight out. Well, what the other thing was me, it was I always knew I did build up a good work ethic from a very young age, because my mum and dad were always telling me to get a job when I was 13, 14. And then the one thing that's always stayed constant throughout my whole life is getting up early and getting things done, which I'm still doing. But the main thing for me was work, because when I was in high school, I felt a lot out of place because I always had a job, and I came from, I'm not saying I didn't grow up poor in England, but me and my family, we did struggle. And when we got here to Australia, we did struggle still. Yeah. And then my parents did divorce as well when I was 12. Oh. So I knew what it was like to be not on your own, but to be left to your own devices.
That's a hard age as well, 12.
Yeah, it's a confusing time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, you just wake up in the morning and your dick's just like, and you're like, what the fuck? And then you see a girl and a teacher and you're like, it's confusion. Do I love you? What the fuck is going on? What's going on in my house?
Man, I'd kill to be that age again.
Really?
Yeah, I reckon. Go back and do it all over again.
Fuck no. Well, I've trying to get sidetracked. When I turned 24, I was thinking to myself, no, this is the age I'm supposed to fucking be right now. Yeah. Where am I going with this?
Sorry, what are you saying? Yeah, you're saying about when you realised,
And then the most important lesson, the time I ever learned was, and I hold this to this day, when I was in university, I used to work for a company dealing with freight, unloading boxes. I would go to a dock depot. Yeah. At 4 a.m. in the morning. I wake up at 3, get there for 4. I work from 4 to 8 a.m. just unloading shipping containers of boxes non-stop. By the time it was 8 a.m., it was rough work and all that, but it was labour. And I go straight to uni all day, and I fall asleep in my lectures and all that sort of shit.
It's building up that work ethic.
Yeah. And I told myself, I say this day, when I graduated uni, and they say, what was the most important thing you learned? And I said, I can't really tell you, because I learned more from working in a deposition than I did actually studying at uni. I'm sorry.
Exactly, man. Yeah. And I think you're probably similar to me, as you've had a lot of jobs that you didn't like.
Correct.
But I'm so glad I had all those jobs, because it made me realise what I didn't want to do.
Okay, so what one was for you like the most beneficial then?
Man, honestly, it's funny to say, but I think a lot of people say this because I've heard it. McDonald's. Yeah. I worked at McDonald's for 3 years, bruv.
To the KFC for 2.
Bruv, man, that instills like communication skills. Yeah. How to work like under a structured environment. You're watching systems, procedures, and you're looking at a service-based business quick as well. Yeah. You know, because their turnaround, they've got to try and get in and out. I love KFC until I've eaten it. Afterwards, I feel like shit. Fuck, man. But that's crazy, man. That's, 100%. That, and for me, it was installing fiberglass pools. I fucking hated that, man.
How did you get involved in that?
Oh, my God. I just had a family friend who did it for a business. No. And they said to my mum they needed a hand, like a few days a week, and he'd pay me cash. Oh, my God. Trying to go to the gym. Yeah. Bro, props to like tradies, brickies. I don't know how they do it, man. Yeah. Like, unless they're eating a crazy amount of food. Yeah. I was just spending like 8-10 hours a day in the sun, burnt, like super fatigued. To try and go and lift weights after that is just like, oh man, I just remember like I'd get home, I'd have a shower, I'd eat quick, and I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go train. Yeah. And I'd sit on there in my bed and be like, I just want to go to bed. Like, I'm exhausted. You know what I mean?
I had that.
props to them, man. They get it done. You know what I mean?
I can't say I've ever done install fiberglasses, but I did a very short period of time working for a demolition company.
Oh, very similar though, because I had to rock up and take out the old pool before we could install. So it's demolition.
Yeah.
You'd be able to, they chuck a skip bin out the front.
Yeah.
They drop you off with a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
And they say, right, Joseph, can you just clean this up and fill up the skip?
Actually, what they did to me was I would drive down to this spot, right? And they just dump all the rocks and all that shit. My job was for about 8 hours a day was to get in between the rocks and just pull out the rubbish.
Oh, no.
And then get in between the machines and pull out the metal wiring and clean the machines.
Oh.
It was the most soul-destroying job I ever did. And these guys, they would just get inside, and I felt jealous of them because they would literally just get inside their machines and just shovel shit, listen to the radio, eat the food. And I was out there actually in the field getting told off all the time I wasn't working quick enough. And I was just like...
Literally, man. But I'm sure you were the same as me. It's like I was getting it done. I knew that I had to do the job in front of me, but there was always that little voice in my head that was like, this is not what I'm going to do in my life.
There you go.
And I think if that's the most important thing is if anyone's listening to this and you're doing something you don't like start working outside of what you're doing on your little hustle, because there's a reason you're having that little voice in your head telling you that you don't want to spend your life doing this, telling you that you're so capable of so much more. You know, we need to lean into that voice rather and not let society's expectations of us go like, oh, no, you know, you're tired. You shouldn't go home and work on that. Don't go train, you know. Nah, this is an important job. Like you're making a difference. You're not making a difference making like working for a demolition company. You know what I mean?
What would you say about those people, though? They wake up and they have a job that they hate, but their motivations for doing it is something so much greater. Like, do you ever meet the mums or the dads? They hate their job, but they got kids.
And that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Like, there's obviously outliers. Like, we're not all meant to work for ourselves.
No.
We're not all meant to, you know, build businesses, help other people in service bases, whatever. There is people out there that are meant to work for other people. And I mean, my stepdad's a testament to that. Super successful man in Botswana.
What's he do?
He was owned HP Computers. So he owned in Botswana Hewlett Packard Computers. Back when HP was massive, pre-Apple. You know what I mean? When it was huge. Remember Microsoft was so big.
Yeah.
He owned HP Computers, had tons of employees, was the big boss. I remember every day he'd take me to school in his little BMW Z3, was wearing a suit, always super successful. Basically, when we moved to Australia, to come to Australia, you have to have something. So to be an immigrant, you have to invest in the economy in Australia. You have to contribute somehow. You have to be a nurse or something like that. You know what I mean? So basically what he did is he bought into IGA, which is Independent Grocers Australia. So he bought a couple of IGAs down south and invested in the company. But immediately he went from being up here in Botswana to almost just middle class here in Australia.
But owning IGAs is pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah, it was amazing, but the IGAs weren't doing great. So he was doing okay, and he invested in enough to get us here, but ultimate sacrifice. Like my parents live in Mandari, which I don't know where if you know that is, near Clarkson. It's not super far from Yanchep, but his IGAs are in Rockingham. So he was driving. How's that for work ethic? So you go from owning like Hewlett Packard here in Botswana, this super successful business, to coming to almost sacrificing so much so that your family can be better off, so that all your 6 siblings, all your kids can have better opportunities. So like I can't stand when my little brothers and sisters, because obviously they don't know, man, have goes at my dad, or dad's so annoying, or dad tells us off all the time. That man, I have the ultimate respect for that man. He took the ultimate sacrifice so that we could all have a better opportunity at life. But doubling back exactly what you're saying, he needed to do that. It was his job to do that. He couldn't have kept going and saying, no, I'm going to be more and more successful, selfish. So yeah, there is men out there or women out there, single mums, single dads, even grandparents that have had to raise, children. And it's like, they've had to sacrifice, and that's their duty. They've got to work the hours, they've got to pay the mortgage off, they've got to support the kids or whatever. We both know people that have had kids super early, and they can't afford to step back and go like, oh, I'm just going to earn peanuts for a month while I build this side hustle. You know what I mean? Whereas we're lucky enough to have that. I think I've just been aware of that from a young age and watching what my stepdad did to a degree to go like, all right, I'm not going to do the traditional thing. I'm not just going to jump into a mortgage like all my other friends are. I'm not just going to get married, even though I've been with people that I thought, you know, I could propose to this girl.
Thank you.
I'm not just, you know, I've played the long game.
Me too.
You know what I mean?
Me
and
too.
it's important because, like, I see your missus sometimes around Revo, and I didn't know you realized you guys were together.
Yeah.
But until I actually saw your Instagram and like saw you guys in Bali and stuff like that, like you look like you're having a blast. Yeah. And I'm sure like you've been together for a while.
Nearly 2 years, yeah.
And I'm sure you've had someone, a parent or a friend or someone say, "Oh man, are you gonna marry her? When are you going to propose? When are you gonna propose?" Or someone maybe even from her side.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you shouldn't. Man, how many times do you feel this pressure? How many videos you see on TikTok of girls that are like, "Oh my God, when are you going to propose to me?" Like, "Oh my, when?" And it's like they put all this pressure.
Yeah.
And it's like they don't realize it actually it's the opposite. You know, it makes the man like not want to do that. It's like
it does. That's why I'm telling people I got off social media because I was so sick of feel like I had to make all these expectations. I'm 24 now. I don't
so young though.
Yeah. I don't make shit. I don't make like fucking six figures like you see all these guys on these e-commerce shit. I don't drive like a Ferrari. And I'm seeing all these young kids and they're doing that. I'm just like, why do I feel like I have to sustain to that? You are exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I get so sick of all these expectations being placed on people. Like, do you ever see like those motivational accounts on Instagram by 30 you should have a 6-figure business, you should have like 12 wives, you should be fucking 6 Lamborghinis.
Some kid in his basement making little infographics. But no, it's true. It's like society has these preformed like expectations of what we're supposed to do. Like the mortgage, the house, you know, the successful business, the whatever it is, sports car, and like it's clothes. And how many people do you know that like they can't afford something, but they're like afterpaying because they're afterpaying like some Gucci whatever because they think they need to wear that to look a certain way. And it's like, I think the best way you can get successful is like if you're like focus on yourself, like man, get a haircut. Get a haircut, focus on yourself, like present yourself well, be a nice person, treat other people how you'd want to be treated. You know, I've always been under the impression like what you put out into the world, like how you are is what you're gonna kind of attract. And like my mum's full Christian, like my mum's really religious, so I've grown up Christian Baptist. Okay. I can't stand here today and say I don't believe in God, but I can't stand here and say I do. I'm not gonna say I don't because you don't. Like, how do we know? Like you said, we're all just trying to figure this thing out. But I've always felt like, me and my mum have this running joke because I've always felt like the universe has like looked out for me a little bit. Like there's always been someone up there that's like, if I've needed an opportunity or if I'm not going through the best time, there'll be like a random client call that I used to work with like, "Hey bro, let's sign up back." And I'm like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? Yeah. But man, there's been times in my life where I've had next to no money. There's been times in my life where I've earned a lot of money, and like, I can tell you that the happiness scale in between there, like you said, is like, it's there.
It's there. I've been there.
How you want to perceive the world and how you make the choice to feel is how you're going to feel. You know, like we all have the choice, and we all have the choice on how we get to feel. And it's like, I hate those TikToks. I'm sure you could see those TikToks or reels, whatever, where it's like, most men lead lives of like silent desperation. And it's like there's that guy at the end of the bed. About Andrew Tate? There's like there's the guy at the end of the bed, and he's like, most men begin the day like this, and he's like super depressed, and I'm like, yeah, I've definitely had days like that. Yeah. But if I wake up in the morning and go, oh, I'm so depressed, I'm gonna choose to, you know, I'm so sad, choose to feel that way today. The chances of feeling better that day and achieving a lot are very slim because I'm just gonna. I use the analogy, you're packing up and living there. You're almost packing up, but pitching your tent and you're living in that emotion for the day. Whereas versus saying, all right, I'm going to go out for a walk, I'm going to have a cold shower, I'm going to do something, go train like you say you like to do in the morning, do something hard to set yourself up to feel better that day. And then you can focus on the good. I always say to people, focus on the good and the good gets better. Yeah. So true, man. That it's so true. So good. I like that. Vice versa, you focus on the negative and it's just going to get worse. You know what I mean? We're the only people, if you think we're the only species out there that like, if we think something bad for long enough, basically physiologically our body's going to take that on and we're going to feel like that thing's happening anyway. Does that make sense? Elaborate on what you mean by that? Does that make sense? So basically if you think about it, if you and me sit here for long enough and worried about someone running in here right now and shooting us, if we honestly worried about that so much, physiologically our bodies would start responding. We'd start stressing out.
Okay.
We'd start almost feeling like that had already happened, versus people actually coming in and doing that. It's like, whereas you look at any other creature or whatever, it's like they don't have that ability to perceive that. You know what I mean? We have these abilities to like focus on an emotion so hard and focus on something so much that it becomes so true and so important on our mind.
Are we talking about manifestation in a way?
In a way, yeah.
Yeah,
I
okay.
guess I might be going off topic and not communicating this as well as I can, but I feel like if we live in an emotion for so long, you're going to start to take that on board and start to feel that as if that thing's already happened anyway. So it's like we live in a world where people are so worried about things happening. I'm not gonna lie, man. I was worried about this podcast. I was like worried in my head, like, oh, are we going to have a good conversation? Am I going to say the right things? Am I going to stuff up? Am I going to cough like I was talking about the other day because I've been sick? Like, am I going to make myself come across like stupid? It's all these things that negative self-talk that I was worrying about, I was anxious about. They could have stopped me from even being here. Okay. Like I could have messaged you and said this morning, oh, Joseph, like, bro, I'm actually not feeling well. Like, let's do another time. And we wouldn't be having this sick conversation right now. So it's like we're the only species that have that ability to almost like, you focus on something so for so long negative that you're gonna take it on board.
Okay.
Like your body in a natural, like from a stress response, your body's gonna start responding to that as if it was true.
Okay, so there's two things I'm taking away from this. What you're saying is like our body sometimes it can be a direct, it can be in direct correlation to the way our mind is feeling. If you feel like shit, you eventually feel like your body's going to feel like shit as well.
Hands down.
And the other thing you're sort of telling me goes back to the old Seneca quote, which is that we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality.
Beautiful. 1000%.
And I feel like that's where we're going. And it's just surprisingly enough, like, why is it that always got a question, why is it us humans why is it we do that? Like, where did that actually come from? Like, and this is something I feel like's come through us over time in society. Like
1000%, man. And I think it gets chalked up now and almost like people take the piss out of meditation and stuff like that. And it's like kind of like viewed as hippie now and, oh my God, bro, just focus on the now. But it's actually true. Like I had a pivotal moment when I stopped being a mechanic, when I actually started reading a lot of philosophy, a lot of Seneca stuff. But for me, one of the biggest eye-openers for me was reading Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now.
I couldn't read that.
Really?
I found it I'm sorry.
So boring?
Sorry, I found it so dog shit boring.
Bro,
I couldn't get past the first 20 pages.
But see what I mean? So you found that dog shit boring, didn't even affect you. But that point in my life, like I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
I had just broken up with a long-term girlfriend at the time. I was super lost, didn't know much about stoicism, stuff like that. And then I remember just coming across Eckhart Tolle's work. And I think looking back at it now, I could probably laugh at it a bit. But I remember just reading this one chapter. See, out of a whole book, this is the one thing that stuck with me. It's not even a chapter, a sentence. He talks about living on a park bench homeless in absolute bliss, in awe of the nature and stuff around him. And so in my current situation, feeling like, oh, I'm not earning enough money. I hate this job. I want to do this. I want to work for myself. I want to, have all these followers, whatever. I was stuck in the wrong stuff. And I started thinking like, oh, what? This guy's like living on a park bench in like absolute bliss, homeless, taking in his surroundings, grateful. How am I not grateful for the situation I'm in? You know what I mean? So I think that just bridges the gap for me as well. I haven't really dabbled with a lot more of his work, but just that ability to focus on the now. I think it gets taken the piss out of now. Like,
how do, this is the thing though, when people say focus on the now, how do people actually focus on the now? Like, is it something that you?
For me, I think it's going to be based on the individual. Like,
okay.
But like, it's touching, like just before how I was saying, I was worried about this podcast before it had even happened.
Okay.
Whereas if I had, and then I woke up this morning and just thought, no, like, let's focus on what we can control. Leading up to the podcast, go for a nice walk this morning, had breakfast, had a shower, had some caffeine to help me probably like speak a little bit better. You know what I mean? I focused on what I could control rather than just sitting at home stressing about the future and being anxious rather than the now. Anxiety is obviously worrying about the future. depression's focusing on the past. That's what they say. And then focusing on the current moment, I feel like I can always find something in the current moment that I'm grateful for. Like right now, I could be stressed about anything, like a client's result at work this week, but I could sit here and go like, fuck, we're having a sick conversation. Like, it's cool to hang out, Joseph. You know what I mean? Like, there's always something like, never thought I'd have the ability to speak like this, you know, be in a cool studio like this. You know, there's always something to focus on. But I think, like you said, doubling back on having the ability to focus on the now, the biggest thing I focus on my clients is breathing.
Really?
I think most of us just don't even realize how we breathe most days. You know, our body's just on autopilot almost, you know?
Wow.
And most people don't realize that they've got this dysfunctional breathing. I come across so many mouth breathers. Like, sorry, this is going off a little bit topic, but focusing on the moment. Like, if you think about when you're younger, you get the flu, snotty nose, whatever.
You got to breathe through your mouth.
Mum's not going to run around blowing your nose for you. So you just start breathing through your mouth. You might develop these, it might be from a sickness or it might be from someone else. You might get stuffed nose, whatever. You develop these poor breathing patterns where you're not actually getting enough oxygen in, you're not utilizing that, you're not breathing properly, you're not utilizing your actual diet, you're not getting a diaphragmatic breathing. So you're not actually able, you know, to control that valgus nerve, that nervous system as well as possible. So a lot of people are in this heightened state, you know, where they're breathing out of the upper body, they're breathing out of their chest, they're not actually relaxing, you know what I mean? So they wonder why they're super anxious, always going from thing to thing, struggling to, and they're the same people that are going, oh my God, you're so gay, we're doing your meditation, focusing on the now. You know, I think people reckon, so for meditation for me was always an easy way of coming back to the moment. And I think people view meditation as, you know, sitting down, legs crossed, you know, with like bloody music on, whatever, you know what I mean? Like they view it as that, but meditation can be like anything, you know, like I sat in my car right before I pulled up today and just had a couple of deep breaths and I was like, you're going to have fun, bro. Like it's going to be sick. And you know, even just those 2-3 big breaths brought me just back to the present moment. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And so I think the biggest thing, even for my clients, sorry to double back on what I was saying before, is like just trying to be a bit more aware of how you're breathing.
Okay. So breathing as a form of meditation, and meditation has many forms. Like, do you
100%.
have any other? Do you like do any writing? Do you journal?
Man, I used to do a lot of writing. I don't write as much anymore. I used to focus on, you know, having like sort of 3 goals every day. Don't do this so well anymore. I should probably get back to it. It's a good practice, but I'm going to implement it with a few of my clients that are starting a challenge in a couple of weeks, which we'll talk about in a sec. But basically just having like sort of 3 goals a day, whether it be a nutrition goal. You know, we all know something. There's always that little voice in the back of your head like, oh, I did not drink enough water. Oh, I should have some more protein. Oh shit, I didn't have my creatine today. Oh shit, I didn't have my subs. It's going to be individual, whatever that is. So for me, that first goal is that nutrition goal. Might be drink more water, might be get your subs in, might be have more, hit your protein, track your calories, whatever. It's going to be based on the individuals. The second is training goal. Like, didn't train today, go and train, lift a bit heavier, get your steps in, whatever. It's going to be based on the individual. And then the third is like a personal development. Mm-hmm. So that's going to change time to time. For me, it was, at the moment, is just reading like 10 pages of a book.
Easy.
Something easy, yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to be interested in it, you know what I mean? I can't read. I'm kind of a skim reader. Like, I'm not going to sit and read. Like, I think it's just my, like, sort of ADHD mind. It will just go. Like, I'm sure you can hear from this podcast that we're going off in tangent. But I'll read, like, a page and then be like, shit, I need to read that again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everyone gets that.
Yeah.
I even get that myself. But, like, it comes down to what you're reading. Are you one of those people that feels like they can listen to certain types of books and they have to read others?
Yeah,
or do you feel like you got to read a book, then you got to listen to it another time?
Yeah, no, I'm a big audiobook guy.
Oh, yeah?
Like, I like audiobooks because I'll walk or train or when I drive.
What do you listen to
Same
at
with
the moment?
podcast. 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Have you heard of
I
that?
keep seeing that popping up. I've listened to Mastery. I always find I find some books like that, they are so filled. They're so filled with so much clutter. There's only like 2 or 3 things you can take away from it. So I'm one of those people that if I'm reading a book or if I'm reading a book or I am listening to one, as soon as I start to feel like this isn't working for me, I stop straight away.
Yeah.
But there's another way we can go around this. If there's a company, there's thing online where you can go to. It's called short form, where they break a book down into like 20 pages for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll read through that first, have a rough idea what it's about. Then I'll go and find the actual big thing. It's what get the actual thing itself.
Like a website or something?
Yeah, it's called short form. You pay for a yearly subscription, but you get access to 3 books a week.
Awesome, man.
So
you can sort of proofread books before you even decide to read them.
correct.
That would make, because even in 48 Laws of Power, like there's a lot of fluff.
Yeah, and you can just learn the 48 laws just right then and there. Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like even the 48 Laws of Power though, like it's pretty interesting because it's like, I think banned in some prisons and stuff like that because they've actually some like, prisoners used it to like, try and control the guards and things like that.
Really?
It's a very weird book though, man. Like you have to take it for a grain of salt because it can be a bit like, it's talking about how you can deceive others and.
I've read the 50th Law though.
Yeah.
The one with Robert Greene and 50 Cent.
Yeah.
And then it was the same thing. He kept talking a lot about 50 Cent getting shot in every single fucking chapter.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you go on about something else?
Can you move on to something else?
Yeah.
But I think, I'll always read non-fiction.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you read any fiction at all?
Nah, not at all, man.
Oh, you won't like my book then.
Are you writing fiction?
Yeah, I'm writing fiction.
Awesome, man. That's cool. Obviously, I'll give it a read.
Yeah. It's a project I've been working on for a few months now, about just almost halfway actually.
Awesome. Congrats.
Because for me, writing, I put it this way. I tell people this: when you are, and I'm sure you can agree, but when you are doing something creative, you are your most authentic self and you're your most happiest.
1000%.
So you could see, like, you could be most happiest in a gym floor when you're helping people, when you're working with people and all that. And that's one thing I've always tell people to go for. And for me, that's always been writing. Like, I've always written short stories throughout my entire life.
It's made you happy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's why I pretty much almost journal every day.
Yeah.
So that's why I came into it. But fictional books for me have always just been good escape. I'm glad. But do you ever read, like, autobiographies and anything?
I think, autobiographies are good, but I think it's influenced my mum, not liking fiction.
Really?
Because when we grew up, I wasn't allowed to, like I said, religious. I wasn't allowed to watch Harry Potter. Wasn't allowed to listen. I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons.
No, what about Lord of the Rings?
No, Mum, bro, that was wizardry, bro. I wasn't allowed to do that. No. My dad would let me watch Star Wars when I'd see him. As like a little treat. But every swear word in the car, my mum would like turn the music down while it was on. Like I was kind of like, sheltered, young.
So I'm guessing you didn't get to gangster music or anything.
No, man. Like, obviously, I feel like I went the other way because of how strict my mum was. Like, I was super into like rap and stuff early on. But that's what I mean. But like, so I think that's just probably what influenced me not reading, fiction.
Oh, wow.
So it's like weird, eh? But yeah, my mum was always like that. Now, my littlest brother, he's like 11. He's like, gets away with anything, can watch whatever, do whatever. And it's like, this is the last child thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you just,
I was the first, man. I was my mum's first.
Wow.
My mum's first out of all of the, like, so it's like.
And then you go to you see your little brother, like, you have no idea how easy you've got it, champ.
Literally, bro, it's so annoying.
Fuck.
It's funny, but it's funny how when we brought up is what shapes us, like, where we go and do certain things. Like, I'm sure you were probably influenced a lot by fiction maybe when you were younger.
Well, for me, it was just, I don't know, growing up as a kid, I had a lot of speech therapy because obviously losing my hearing at a very young age. So I always preferred to read, and I actually preferred to read than I did actually prefer to speak. And I was always called daydreaming.
Yeah.
And I always had these ideas in my head and I never knew what they meant. But people, and it's a weird thing to see, but people always catch me talking to myself.
No way.
It's weird, and especially when I'm in the gym, and people catch me talking to myself. It's because I'm thinking about something in my head, like, and I'm thinking about a creative idea.
That's self-talk.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about like what I'm going to write about. I'm thinking about a character, and then I think to myself, that is when, and I just realized that is actually when I'm also incredibly happy in a state of flow. I'm not worrying about my bill. I'm not worried about if I'm going to have enough money by the end of the week. I'm not going to be able to worry if I'm paying my rent, all that shit. I'm thinking about an imaginary character that I'm going to write a story for, and then blah, blah, blah.
Man, I think you just said it. Like, I thought flow as soon as you said it in my head. I was thinking the exact same thing. I think that's a better way to describe the present moment than I did before. Mm-hmm. Just trying to find a way to get into that flow state. Because we all have it. But a lot of people just aren't aware of what it is yet. Or they're just subconsciously doing it and not aware. Like, they're going home and game for like 3 hours in complete flow. and not realizing that they could actually set that up as a little side hustle.
Okay, I just got to say that. Were you allowed to game though as a child? Was that against your parents' rules?
I was only allowed to play COD and stuff at a certain age.
Really?
Bro, mum is strict. Now she's not super bad. Like now she's super chill. COD? Hey, he's Fortnite.
Oh,
he loves a Fortnite. Well, I guess times have changed. We used to smash Modern Warfare 2, you know, like Nuketown days, whatever. But what's it called? Yeah, my brother plays Fortnite now. It's completely different now. Stuff's changed. More PC. That? Yeah, I played a little bit, but I couldn't get into the builds and that, man. When I just looked at it, I'm like, that doesn't look even remotely attractive to me. I can see that was like, I could see from a like ADHD mindset how cool it would be to like get quick at like building and like killing people and stuff. And obviously you're the last person on the map, the VR, you're the winner, you know, it's like, it's kind of like free for all in COD. But I just could never, there was too much into it. My mates went balls deep into it and I was doing other stuff.
Do you still play?
No, not at all. I don't even have a console. Me in my house, I live with my best friend, and we were actually talking about it yesterday or the day before, saying, man, we need to get FIFA or something. It'd be like fun to just have a little competitive game to play at home every now and then. But yeah, I think just like you were saying before, man, I think it's a better way of me saying finding that. I think because, the power of now and that present moment stuff is a bit heebie-jeebie now. I think just people trying to find their flow. Because like you said before, man, when I'm making videos or when I'm exercising that creative muscle, that's when I'm so much happier, eh?
Is that your definition of flow?
I would say when I'm making a video, it might not even be the time making a video, but when I'm at home editing the video, like I'll be in complete flow. There might be 2 or 3 hours pass and I'll completely justify those 3 hours. I don't care. Wow. I've made terrible videos that have taken me like 4 or 5 hours to edit, you know, and I've watched back and gone, damn, I should have done this. But you learn from it, you know what I mean? Like you just learn like, I could have done this a little bit better, that a bit better. But yeah, that's for me, as well as coaching my clients, Like during a session, I'll rarely, unless I'm looking when the next client might be coming in, I'm rarely looking at the time. I'm just enjoying that session with that person. Awesome. And that's how you know. And same with even my support work with Nick, you know, days will fly, 6-hour shift will go by and me and him have done all this stuff and we're just hanging out, you know, it's like, I guess, more people need to find that flow. I think that's important. Like I think even doubling back on that, like if we're closing this podcast soon is, I think more people should just find that, you know, and even saying it in a way like that. I don't think I've actually said it like that. Find your flow. You know what I mean? Yeah. Bro, it might be swimming for some people.
Okay. I'm going to give you a book because you're dropping all the good stuff right now.
Yeah.
You told me you did a little, before the pod, you did a little bit of jiu-jitsu and all that. You did for a while.
Yeah.
You know who Hickson Grace is?
Yeah.
He made a book called Breathe, A Life in Flow, which is his autobiography.
Yeah. Great book.
Insanely great book. And he talks about how he used jiu-jitsu to get him through everything. And he talks about what you're saying right now. When people are expressing themselves, like time becomes a construct.
Yeah.
That's what I was
trying to say. Skewed, Your perception of time changes completely.
Yeah.
When you're doing things you love. Like even right now, how long have we been talking?
An hour and 30 minutes, actually. Feels like, we're going to be wrapping up soon. But yeah.
It feels like 10 minutes, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because our perception of time, because we're enjoying doing this more than probably if we were at McDonald's or KFC doing our old shifts back in the day to come full circle, how much do you look at the clock? Bro, I was clock watching the shit out of that. Yeah. You know, all the time. Versus now, like, hour and a half flew by and it feels like we've just been chatting for 10 minutes because you're on the path, because we are in that flow. We're finding things that we're supposed to be doing. That's how I feel like, you know, that what you're supposed to be doing is like, right. You know, like I'm excited to wake up every day, bro. Like I can't tell you the last time I didn't, even if I have the shittest night's sleep and I'm rolling over looking at my phone at 2 a.m. and I know I've got a 4:30 alarm, I'm still closing my eyes like, yes, like, you know, a few hours like till tomorrow.
What was the point where you realized you'd reached that though? Like surely that was not the whole time though.
Nah, not at all, man. Nah. I dreaded, like when I was a mechanic, like I said, I worked, it's not too far from here actually. I worked as a turbo technician at like a aftermarket turbocharger manufacturer and I absolutely hated it, man.
Wow.
My boss was coming in all the time like, I just paid off my mortgage. Yeah. Just got a 200 series.
Oh, God.
Like you're brand new, you know, and it's like, it wasn't until I got that phone call confirming that I had the job at the care place, and I knew I could resign from the mechanic, where I just started crying, bro. Like I broke down crying. I went to the toilet and I was broke down crying. I was like,
you were that happy?
I was so happy because I knew that my chapter was about to change, and I knew that that person had given me an opportunity. You know, I'd gone and had an interview with the Disability Association. They've given me opportunity, and I knew from then, sweet, if I've had the ability to work, listen to podcasts, you know, learn about nutrition, biomechanics, training, volume, whatever, in this job that I hate, as soon as I start this 9 to 2, I'm going to have so much more time and creative freedom to focus on the other stuff.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I'm still learning today, man. Like, you talk to anyone in my life, they'll tell you that, like, I'm full of ideas. Like, I almost will want to sort other people's lives out, but it's executing those ideas. And the older I get, the more I'm realizing that even I'm not the best at that.
Wow.
Like, we have all these things every day, like that small little voice, like I was saying, we have that small little voice that's trying to find that flow or trying to contribute to society. Because what are we supposed to do at the end of the day? We're not here to make money. You know what I mean? You can make all the money in the world, you're still going to be left with that feeling if you're not contributing, you know, and getting that satisfaction, you know. But it's like, yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like I wish I could go back and do it earlier, but at the same time, like everything happened exactly how it happened. And I'm glad I can talk about it now.
That's important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you said before, coming back to what we said like halfway through potties, like we are exactly where we're supposed to be.
Exactly.
I don't want to put pressure on myself like, oh, Cal, you should have done this last week. You should do this. Like, that's what tomorrow's for, or that's what today's for. Like, just focusing on, I'm sure you're the same as like, there's days when, yeah, you might not be as productive as possible. You know, you might not post that video that you know you should have. You might not train. You might not track your calories that you know you should have, or eating your protein. But it's like, and you'll get to the end of the day and you'll feel that. Your head's on the pillow and you're like, you're not satisfied. You know, you can't sleep as well. You're maybe not as tired. Your mind's racing a bit. You got that brain fog. You're overthinking a little bit. Like, I should have done this, should have done that. But then equally, you have those days where you're super productive. You know, like you're saying, you exercise that creative muscle, get in that flow state for as much as you can throughout the day. Your head hits a pillow on that night. You're straight out to sleep because you've got that sense of satisfaction. You know exactly what you're doing is right and that you're on the path you're supposed to be on.
Yeah. I love that, man. I love that. And unfortunately, that's all the time we got for today.
No stress, bro. Thanks so much for having me on.
First of all, just going to say that was fucking phenomenal. Absolutely love that.
Nice,
now,
me too, man.
Guys, if you want to follow Cal, where can they find you?
I'm on TikTok and Instagram as
follow me on TikTok, people.
just as Calum Fraser PT. So
Callum
Calum is the OG spelling.
Yeah.
1 L.
Yeah.
And then S for Fraser.
Really? 1 L? Is
1
that?
L, bro. That's the OG.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
None of that 2 L shit. I'm a 1 L Cal.
1 L.
1 L Callum, bro.
Okay.
None of this 2 L.
Right. I'm going to make sure I put that down.
You're all good, bro. Don't stress.
Okay. And they can find you at the Joondalup Revo.
I'm at Joondalup Revo, and obviously I coach online. If you go on my Instagram bio, you'll see all my coaching services there. Fill out an application if you like. Otherwise, we can just tee up a chat, whatever. And yeah, you can find me across socials on Calum Fraser PT.
Awesome. Thank you very much,
Thanks
man,
for having
guys.
me on, bro.
Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to follow us on socials. We are now, I'm just going to say this real quick. I wish this was the 150 episode.
Oh, no, you're right.
I wish.
Let's make this happen again. Let's do it
we
again.
will. I'll make it happen again at some point. But I'm just going to say a confession. I wish this was the 150 episode because of how good it fucking was. And that would have been a great way to have the 150 episode. But this is episode 149 of Last Set Podcast, and that's game.